Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's very great to be here. So I've got a question for you before we begin. Everywhere we turn in the world, media is in crisis. Everywhere. How does crypto help to solve problems for media?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the main issue with media is really getting down to the business model. Like at the moment, running a media is really hard. We've seen it at Decrypt for the past 6 years. You can't rely on traditional advertising, banner ads, sponsored content, etc. You can't rely on a subscription model, extremely hard to manage as well. So where do you fit? What's the solution? And that's what we've been trying to do, honestly, for the past 6 years, is looking at crypto as a way to rethink the business model, not just the content creation, the content distribution, but really the business model of media. And the latest iteration of this is what we're launching at the moment. It's called Myriad. We recently announced it. And it's the inclusion of prediction market directly in the news content. So we've been pushing the beta starting last week, and that's our answer to how can crypto basically help generate revenue for media, help have media stay independent. That's obviously another huge issue, by generating enough revenue to be sustainable, independent, and cover the space.
So Decrypt isn't just a media outlet who reports on crypto. Decrypt is a media outlet who is an actual user of crypto that's changing the business model and the way that you operate.
Absolutely. So really from the start, when with my co-founder Ryan Servatus and Josh Quittner, we got together in 2018, it was very clear for the three of us that we wanted to use Web3 to cover Web3. We're not just going to cover the space. We were going to launch products that uses the technology, and we're going to speak about some cool stuff also tied to this event, obviously, but we wanted the technology to be at the core of it. So we've run a series of experiments. We started a DAO called PubDAO a few years ago, looking at decentralized content production. We had a Reader token, so we're one of the first media platforms to experience with like loyalty and engagement using Web3 technology. Now we have a prediction market, and the latest iteration of it, and super excited to announce it here, is we're gonna basically bring Walrus to all Decrypt users. So the entirety of the Decrypt library will go on Walrus. So we have about 20 million users per year, and we're going to store 100% of the content. We're going to get links on all our pages back to Walrus, and we're really going to use that as a showcase of the technology and how Web3 can basically rethink how we just approach storage in general.
Wow, so Decrypt is truly the first media outlet in the world to embrace decentralized storage with Walrus.
I think it is, yeah.
Wow, that is truly remarkable. And you heard it here first at the Sui Builder House in Singapore. Why should, I wonder, media outlets specifically consider decentralized storage? How does it help media as a business through this lens?
Yeah, I think that there's a few main reasons. The first one I would say is data persistency. You've mentioned that media were struggling in general. A lot of media are shutting down. I think there's a real use case for creating like an immutable library of content that persists even if the platform dies. So we're looking at data persistency by putting all the articles there and ensuring they stay accessible. The other part of this equation is really censorship. Like being able to have a censorship-resistant platform via decentralized storage is absolutely essential. I mean, we've seen it in Brazil with Twitter recently. We've seen it in other parts of the world. Like, there's countless examples of media having to shut down because of the country they're in or for other various reasons. And looking at the decentralized approach is a no-brainer. It will allow the data to persist, and it's essential as a media, providing journalism to people to have the right storage for it. Then there's other like obvious advantages, like cost is one as well. Like it gets really expensive to store your data in a centralized fashion. Having a solution like Walrus will significantly decrease the cost and offer a new way to do it. There's other approaches that I think are interesting. I think being able to use media and our distribution as a showcase of the technology is also essential. I mentioned we wanted to use Web3 to cover Web3 from the get-go, and this is a good example. Like bringing Walrus to 20 million people in the next few months is going to have an obvious impact and a showcase of the technology.
Yeah, you know, there's a quote that struck me as very interesting recently, and I think that you would use this quote in a context of something else, but I want to read this back to you. You said, "Our vision is to create an interconnected media ecosystem where users are rewarded, creators are fairly compensated and advertisers achieve higher ROI. I wonder, how does Walrus help you to achieve that goal?
Yeah, I think for this specific quote, the goal is really how do we think about the distribution of value creation in the cycle of media. You have a lot of different stakeholders, and at the moment you only have basically the Google and the Facebook taking the lion's share. How do you offer a different model? How do you, from the business model to the distribution to the storage, rethink the participation of each of those stakeholders and redistribute the value properly? Decentralized storage is part of this equation because you allow a lot of participants to participate in your network and in the storage of your data. The other aspect of it is just the distribution of value creation. The way we approach it is with prediction market here. So we're including prediction market with Myriad on the news content, and then the value that's been generated by the prediction market by taking a rake of the volume gets redistributed to the creator, to the publisher, and obviously to the user that participates in the prediction market.
Fantastic. In full disclosure, it sounds like you are launching that prediction market on Arbitrum. However, as we heard from Janet earlier on, Walrus is interoperable with multiple other L1s and L2s. So tell me about how you're thinking about this combination.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't need to have one single chain. There's multiple aspects to the product, and we'll look at onboarding various chains, and we want to speak to every community as well. We're really looking at creating a mainstream product. So basically, what happens in the background doesn't really matter to the user. Like, we're looking at really onboarding the next wave of people. I think Web3 and Web3 media is a great sandbox. So we're going to experiment on Decrypt, but the goal is really to just explode beyond that. I want other media to be able to benefit from this new model and to be able to basically save their business model by leveraging it. So crypto is a great use case just to test. We're going to work with various changes from the data layer to the change where the token will be, etc. So there's multiple things we can do without getting into too much detail. But really, the reality is that it doesn't really matter for the user because all the technology is going to be abstracted, and we just want to create a great product that's accessible.
That's fantastic. So as we look ahead through the end of 2024 and into 2025, broadly speaking, what excites you the most about what's happening in crypto today?
Yeah, I think it's breaking out of our echo chamber. Like, I've been in the space for a few years, and I think it's really the time to get mainstream application. Like, the technology is ready, we can get actual users onboarded, and we need to scale. I mean, it was really clear when in the previous presentation we were speaking about gaming, about other application of Walrus. It's a showcase that we can literally onboard the next wave of user, abstract the technology, and don't just use Web3 for the sake of it. Use it because it offers a better model. It helps change business model of media in my example, but in gaming and in various other industries, it will have an actual impact. And it's the moment where we abstract the technology, we get the users on, and we show that this technology has really a place in our ecosystem.
Uh-huh. And it's fantastic what you said. It's always interesting to us to wonder, what vector is going to be that breakout vector for mainstream adoption. And do you have a perspective on what that might be first?
I think gaming is going to be a huge one. Obviously, and I know that's what you're looking at, and you mentioned it earlier, definitely gaming is going to be massive. From my perspective, I think media is a good way to onboard people because we have a lot of users. When you look at the Web3 space, a lot of apps don't have that many users, and we have 20 million people coming to Decrypt every year. The RUG network, we create a network, is massive as well. So having the ability to leverage that audience to bring application to them is obviously a huge opportunity that we want to capitalize on. But short answer, gaming is going to be a massive thing.
Yeah. Why do you suppose, and this is a last question here, but why do you suppose that single mainstream breakout success hasn't already happened in crypto? What's your view behind why that is?
Yeah, I think that there's two main reasons. One, the technology wasn't ready. I think we had to abstract the technology to a certain level that allows people to just participate. I don't think it was ready before. I think it is now. And then I think great games, if we take gaming as an example, take a long time to build. Like, you look at the life cycle of the creation of a new game, it's a few years. So you had to basically get the technology to improve in parallel to the development of the games or things like that. And I think we're finally at the stage where we have consumer apps that are ready, technology that it's basically scalable and ready to be used as well. And those applications can now be launched and literally onboard the next wave.
That's fantastic. Well, Ilan, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.